Hello, we're going to discuss the topic of Asian Development Bank under the aegis of financial institutions of the world. Every economy, every regional economic region for that matter needs an apex financial institution which is going to help channelize the resources of that region. Like a central bank assists all the commercial banks in a particular country, an apex regional bank helps the entire spectrum of countries lying within that region with the aim of helping the entire Asian continent for economic integration and economic upliftment. Asian Development Bank was constituted. The Asian Development Bank is a regional development bank established on 22nd August 1966 to facilitate the overall economic development of Asian countries. The bank admits all the members from United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, formerly known as United Nations Economic Commission for Asia and Far East, and non-regional developed countries. From 31 members at its establishment period in 1966, ADB has grown to have 67 members in 2007, out of which 48 member countries are from Asian region and Pacific, and 19 countries from outside Asia and Pacific region. ADB was closely modeled on World Bank, and it has developed a system of weighted voting where the votes are distributed in proportion with members' capital subscription. At present, both the United States and Japan hold 5,52,210 shares, the largest proportion of shares at 12.756% each. China holds half of it roughly, and India holds a little less than that of China. China holds 6.5% approx and India holds 6.3% approx. And China and India continue to hold the second and third largest proportion of votes of shares in ADB respectively. ADB is primarily a development bank that lends to various governments for developmental projects. This bank, like the World Bank, doesn't have any individual client. ADB's budget of 2008 has been prepared taking into account the thrust area of ADB's strategies, policies, and work programs. The strategy has been developed with consensus from member countries regarding development agenda. But the major problem ADB faces is shortage of funds. To quell the shortage of funds, Asian Development Bank raised funds through bond issues on the world's capital markets, and also it relies on member countries for contributions and retained earnings from its lending operations and the repayment of loans by member countries. This bank was primarily constituted in way back in 1966. with 37 members, which has grown to be 67 in 2007. Georgia became the 67th member of ADB, and it joined ADB in 2nd February 2007. Georgia was part of the Commonwealth of Independent States, and before that it was part of the Russian Federation. There are 48 regional members. Japan holds 19.612% share. India's share is little bit less than that of China. China holds 8.367 and India holds 8.229. United States holds the highest number of voting share right now in ADB, 36.487%. ADB over the years, over the last almost 45 years of its existence, has grown on to become a multilateral development financial institution that is required to be working in the public sector primarily for lending for development purpose, primarily in the developing member countries. In India, ADB is associated with quite a number of projects and operations that is ongoing. Asia and Pacific remains home to two-thirds of the world's poor. In addition to hundreds of millions of Asian people who survive on less than $1 a day, some 1.7 billion people make ends meet on less than $2 a day. So the challenge for Asian Development Bank is to uplift the standard of living in the immediate member countries, which almost holds 3 billion people taken together. The ADB had its headquarters in Manila, established in 1956. It's owned and financed by 67 of its member countries, of which 48 are from Asia and Pacific, 19 from other parts of the world. The ADB's main partners are governments, private sector, non-government organizations, development agencies, and community-based organizations and foundations. The governments of various countries in the Asian region benefit from being the member of the ADB. Even if ADB is facing shortage of funds which can be invested, primarily required for the social upliftment of standard of living. ADB issues bonds at various organizational summits, ongoing projects. The primary mission of ADB is to help its developing member countries reduce poverty and improve quality of life of their people. ADB has provided over $575 million for road projects in Afghanistan alone. That's more than 2,400 crore Indian rupees. Because Afghanistan more or less lacks basic infrastructure. It has been endowed with vast amount of coal reserves, iron ore reserves, but there is no factories whatsoever operating in Afghanistan utilizing these resources. Because Afghanistan primarily lacks modern roads. So there is a thrust being given to develop Afghanistan. Indian agencies are working in Afghanistan. Indian government has given foreign aid of more than 3,000 crores to Afghanistan to build sustainable highways. And for that matter, ADB has also provided more than 2,400 crores for building road projects in our country. In 2008, India became the largest borrower from India with almost $3 billion. India's borrowing, in fact, was more than 27% of the total loans issued by ADB that year. So India is one of the borrowers. Almost more than one-fourth of the borrowings was done by India. But what does ADB do exactly? Like World Bank, ADB has the overreaching goal to reduce poverty in Asia and Pacific region. It will help to improve quality of people's lives by providing loans and technical assistance for a broad range of developmental activities including infrastructure, telecommunications, building of schools, hospitals, and road infrastructure. Transportation and communication are the two pillars on which modern economic development takes place. And because of lack of it, no country will be able to sustain its developmental activity for a long period of time. ADB's highest decision-making tier is its board of governors, to which each of ADB's 67 members nominate one person each. The governors' day-to-day responsibility are largely delegated to the 12-person board of directors. The responsibilities on which governors decide, the activities which they thrust the idea upon, they want to invest the money into those ideas, and the implementation is delegated to 12-person board of directors who are going to oversee the applicability portion of those responsibilities. The president of board of directors is also known as the chairperson, and under the board's direction he conducts the business of Asian Development Bank. The president or the chairman of board of directors heads a management team of 4 vice presidents and the managing director general, who supervises the work of ADB's operational, administrative, and knowledge departments. So 4 vice presidents and a managing director general, they all supervise the operational, administrative, and knowledge departments. The president of ADB is elected by the board for a term of 5 years and may be re-elected if his name is proposed and seconded by member countries. ADB follows various strategies for operational purpose and regional cooperation also. ADB formulates operational strategies for individual countries, including economic, thematic, and sectoral policies, and undertakes country-wise performance review, which provides for the basic policy dialogue with the concerned government, with a specific eye on the special activities going on in that region. The second activity is country partnership strategy. Means there is a partnership strategy being made out with a particular country, and it includes an indicative of a rolling country business plan composed of individual technical assistance, loan projects, infrastructure projects, and programs for priority sector in that country. ADB also strives to get regional cooperation to ensure coherent and strategic prioritization of projects undertaken in the region. The projects undertaken must be completed within a given period of time. If time exceeds, then there will be little cohesiveness among the member countries, and money is going to be spent because of inflation in larger quantity. That will not serve the purpose of increasing standard of living and reducing poverty from all states. EDB focuses on a strategy of 2020. By 2020, they want to achieve certain goals, and this strategic framework was accepted and adopted in 2008, which follows a three-pronged complementary strategic agenda. The three-pronged complementary strategic agenda is inclusive growth, environmentally sustainable growth, and regional integration. Inclusive growth means growth in a particular country is not related and it's not limited to growth of urban centers. When India comes into a country, everybody is interested, set up a factory, develop region in an urban. So not many FDI proposals were received by countries which has the intention of going to invest in countries. But EDB looks at inclusive growth of urban centers, not at the expense of rural growth. So investment has to be made both in urban and rural segments. The growth should be environmentally sustainable. The growth should be organic growth. The growth should come from the within, because FDI is not a very long-term concept. You cannot sustain your economy on the basis of FDI only. So when the FDI is coming, the foreign direct investment, loans and assistance, foreign aid, when they are all coming, these governments should focus on creating infrastructure that will increase the growth of GDP, growth of exports, foreign exchange earnings are going to be more, and this should be reinvested. So ultimately, when the economy slows down and there is less FDI coming into the economy, you should be able to sustain a growth that was expected 15, 10, 12 years back. The third is regional integration. Regional integration calls for better cooperation, better integrative activities between countries in a particular area. For example, in the Southeast Asia, that is, there are few countries like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. But the integration process is very slow because of conflicts undergoing within the region. Because of these conflicts, governments fail to interact with each other. There is a sense of loss of trust between the governments, and because of that, economic cooperation becomes unsustainable. To increase trade, for example, India and Pakistan started the Wagah border. Bus routes were opened between New Delhi and Lahore. A train called Sadbhavna Express were also inaugurated, which will run between New Delhi and Lahore. But because of other destabilizing activity in the region, because of lack of government's faith in each other, these activities failed to give any result. So they could not be proceeded with in the long run. So regional integration is necessary to increase and augment trading activities. EDB primarily focuses on reduction of poverty. To do so, it emphasizes promotion of poor, sustainable economic growth, educational development, social development, development of rural areas, greenery, road infrastructure, telecommunication and transport. It also requires marketability of goods produced in rural areas. Apart from that, good governance, corruption-free governance is a requirement which must be satisfied. In support of the above focus of poverty reduction, ADB concentrates on protection of environment, promotion of gender and development, private sector development, and regional cooperation. To sustain an economy, we need all-round growth. We don't need growth in one sector. We need public sector to actively participate in the growth agenda, to invest in those sectors in which private sector is not interested in investing, because private sector is primarily aiming at making profit, whereas public sector may not aim at profit. So without the aim of profit, they have to invest in a particular sector to develop it, because of lack of chronic lack of adequate supply, adequate standard of measures which are not in place. ADB works in partnership with governments and public and private enterprises in its developing member countries. It undertakes projects on such a level that each of these projects will contribute to economic and social development agenda. These agendas are calculated and compounded on the basis of a country's needs and the priority on which the agencies are working. In 2007, ADB approved a loan worth $10.1 billion for 82 projects, most of which went to public sector in various organizations, various countries. Technical assistance, which is used to prepare and implement projects and support advisory of regional activities, amounted to only 243 million, which is almost 1% of the entire approved loan for different significant projects. ADB was conceived amid post-war rehabilitation and reconstruction of smaller economies devastated by World War II. The vision was of a financial institution that would be an Asian financial institution in character, fostering economic growth and cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region. And this region was one of the poorest in the world in 1960. The capital of Manila was chosen to host a new institution, which opened its door on 19 December 1966 with 31 members to serve a predominantly agricultural region like Cambodia, Philippines, and other Asian countries. Through the years from 1966, ADB's work and assistance level has expanded rapidly alongside its membership as the region has undergone far-reaching changes. But in 2007, according to a report, ADB celebrated 41 years of fruitful cooperation with governments of Asia and Pacific. It could look back on phenomenal economic growth in the region alongside abiding development challenges. Some of the member countries in the region has went on to become tiger economies. Look at the growth of China. Look at the size of China. Look at the growth and size of Indian economy. Both are likely to become number one and number two economies of the world by the year 2035. They are likely to overtake United Kingdom, Japan, and United States. So, apart from these large economies, there are also other economies which are in the stages of becoming tiger economies, like Vietnam, like Malaysia. So there are a lot of potential in these economies, and ADB is nurturing them in a very critical manner. ADB carries a triple A credit rating. ADB raises funds through bonds issued on world's capital markets. It also utilizes its members' contribution and retained earnings from lending operations. These sources comprise ADB's ordinary capital resources. and account for 74% of lending to developing member countries. So primarily, ADB relies on bonds issued in the world's capital markets as primary source. Whatever member countries contribute and the repayment of loans by member countries, they, along with the amount of bond issued in the world market, becomes primarily 75% of its lending activities. Loans are provided from special fund resources, financed mostly from contribution to needy countries out of donor members for ADB's concessional loan and technical assistance programs. We'll talk about concessional loans a little bit later. Ordinary capital resources is the pool of funds available for ADB's lending operation. It is replenished by borrowings from world capital markets in the form of bonds. Ordinary capital resources uh, are loans offered at nearly market-to-market terms for better borrowing capacities, and which augments the member country's capacity to take loans at low rate of interest in comparison to commercial banks. ADB has also set up a fund called Asian Development Fund, funded by ADB's donor countries like India, United States, China, Japan. ADB offers loans at a very low rate of interest and grants the help which is required to poorest countries for poverty alleviation programs. ADB is also capable of providing technical assistance. It assists countries in identifying and designing projects, improving institutions, and formulating development strategies. These technical assistance can be granted by in the form of pure aids or loans through ADB's central budget or special funds, which are provided again, which are contributed by donor members. So technical assistance is carried on for critical help in the form of granting a loan to build large infrastructure projects. India has a special relationship with ADB. The Asian Development Bank grants India almost 25% of its total assistance to India every year from 2007 and 8. India has become the largest borrower from ADB from the year 2007 and continued to do so. The Asian Development Bank has been financing the Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation project for the urban infrastructure development for a whopping $250 million through non-sovereign lending, because the loan is not given to Indian economy, Indian country, Indian government. Rather, it is given to Bangalore Rail Corporation Limited. And this is the first time that the agency has entered into any kind of mass rapid public transport sector in South Asia. It has taken major projects in Afghanistan. It has funded Utah State University led projects to bring labor skills in Thailand. Utah State University is a university in the United States. It has started bringing skilled technology for the Thailand people. It has helped the earthquake and tsunami emergency support project in large scale in Indonesia. It has also supported the Pinghu offshore oil and gas development project in Singapore. It has entered into strategic private sector partnership for urban poverty reduction in Philippines. Trans-Afghanistan gas pipeline feasibility assessment is being carried on with help from ADB. A loan of $1.2 billion which was given to Pakistan when it was going through an impending economic crisis in 2005 2004, when it was not in a position because of dwindling balance of payment situation, and it almost uh, came into the effect that it will default in the payment of IMF loans and World Bank loans. It also supports microfinance projects for private enterprises in conjunction with governments of Pakistan and India. Microfinance, small-scale industries, individuals who are working in non-capital intensive technology projects inside these countries because of higher population density. They require financing, small financing, for furthering their private enterprise goal. The Ichang Wanzhou railway project in mountainous area of western Hubei province in China was also one of the principal funding for infrastructure projects. It was almost $500 million, and that is equivalent of 2,200 crores. Apart from that, it is also undertaking the Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation project in India, and hopefully by the year 2015, ADB has pledged that it is going to invest almost $5 billion in Indian region alone. So ADB is like one bank, but on a small scale. Initially, the focus was on assessment of completion of the project, which was started for economic and social benefit. But operations evaluation now shapes decision making, that how the funding has helped the region, how people has been benefited from funding from Asian Development Bank. The behavioral autonomy of this bank, usefulness, credibility, transparency in that region, it works on a system of individual and independent evaluation. This presents a perspective from the evaluation in the ADB from the beginnings and look to a future in which knowledge management, management of intellectual property rights, plays an important role. Countries like India, countries like China, countries like Indonesia and Philippines, they grow out of their slumber to reach mythical heights. ADB facilitates the equivalent kind of growth in urban and rural areas in all these member countries. So I've come to the conclusion of discussion. If you want to know more, you must refer to various journals and websites, ADB website also, for better understanding of ADB, how ADB functions. But in a nutshell, we have discussed a lot of things, and next time we will be discussing something else. Till then, thank you. Thank you very much.